You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers, about hikers, for everybody.
Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail, the ultimate midlife crisis. Join Steve and his guests every week as he staggers from Georgia to Maine.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. You're listening to the Mighty Blue podcast, and I'm your host, Steve Adams, or Mighty Blue. I've been really loving Vermont this week. I don't remember enjoying it so much in my previous two through hikes, so it's been such a pleasure to discover a state that I didn't know much about. The hiking has been great, the weather has been generally great, and I've met up with friends along the way and had a bit of slack packing thrown in. How bad is that, eh? And this week, even though we've only got two interviews, we're going to meet a father and son who have recently summited Katahdin and who happen to live in the same town or near the same town as my friend Betty. And as she knows them, she set me up the interview. I think you're really going to like it. But before we get started, let's hear from our sponsor, Polar Steps. If you're heading out on a long hike this year, which I am, I've got something I think you're going to love. It's called Polar Steps. It's a travel tracking app that's going to become a favourite with hikers. You set your start date, let it run quietly in the background, and it maps your entire journey automatically, all on your own beautiful spinning 3D globe. And don't worry, the tracking feature uses about 4% of your battery on a single charge, so it's not going to kill your phone when you're out there. You can add photos and short journal entries as you go, so your map shows you where you were, and your words remind you of what that day actually felt like. There's a light social layer too. Family and friends can follow along, or you can keep it completely private. As every hiker says, hike your own hike. And when you're done, you can relive the whole thing in the app or turn it into a stunning coffee table book with your route, stats, photos and stories. And did I tell you that it's entirely free to download and use? The only time you'll be paying anything is if you decide to turn your trip into a book. That's Polar Steps. Track it now, treasure it forever. Day 115, Wednesday, which was Goddard Shelter, mile 1628.6. to Kelly Stand Road, otherwise known as the Stratton Arlington Road, mile 1641.2, a 12.6 mile day, so not that long a day. I had a solid night's sleep in my tent, and I didn't want to wake people at the shelter while I had breakfast. There were a lot of people around, so I set my chair up and sorted my breakfast out right outside the tent. It's actually my favourite way to sit for breakfast. I think I prefer to eat dinner at the shelter with others, all scooching up and preparing your food at the same time. But the opportunity to spend the first 20 minutes or so of every day outside of my tent in the warmth, eating my breakfast, is one of the calm parts of the day. I think it's also one of my favourite parts of the day. I can sit back in my chair comfortably and I can look at what's going on around me as people wake up. I like it when I get out there and it's just starting to turn light. The days have suddenly become noticeably a little bit shorter, so it doesn't get light quite as early as it did, and of course that's only going to get worse as time goes on now. I had arranged to meet George Becht at the Stratton Arlington Road, which is, as I say, otherwise known as the Kelly Stand Road. George is a member of the Florida Appalachian Trail Club, who I met actually back in 2014 when I joined the club. Actually, it was 2013 I joined. And I announced that I was going to do a 2014 thru-hike. Now, I didn't think anybody believed I was going to make it, but there I am still doing it. And one of the things I did, which made a number of people laugh, I bought a little mini contraption which converted my AirPad, which was a Thermarest Neo Air Lite. I bought this contraption, as I say, which turned it into a chair. It literally flipped it on its side and turned it into a chair. It was perfect. And people kept saying to me, well, you can sit on a rock, you can sit on a log. They're right. You can do that. You will get no relief for your back at all. When you sit on the chair I've got now, the Helix, you get great relief for your back. Trust me. Always take a chair with you if you got the chance. But anyway, George has been a friend since then, and he and his wife Alice invited me to stay at their place because they rent a condo for 2 months of the year in Vermont, and so I think they rent the same one every time, and they invited me to stay with them. There isn't really too much to say about this day in terms of hiking because it was a straightforward, relatively short day. It was largely downhill. One thing that is worth a mention, though, is that I did not fall again. So that was now about 5 days without a fall. And I started using on Far Out, I don't know whether all of you know this, but there's this feature under the tools section. You can create a route and it allows me to focus on exactly what I've got to do that day with the complete elevation gain, elevation loss or descent, and the percentage grade of the hike. If it's below 10%, it's easier. And obviously, and if it's above 10%, we know it's going to get quite a bit harder. But I love it because it allows you to see your progress along that particular part of the elevation profile. And to me, it's really helped my hiking. We had climbed up most of Glastonbury Mountain, fortunately, the previous evening, because it had been a long day the previous day, and the shelter was at the top of Glastonbury Mountain. And one thing that I've noticed about already is that it seems to be a transition between Massachusetts and New Hampshire, because the routes are getting conspicuously gnarlier and the rocks are conspicuously sharper. And I know that we've got tougher times to come. It feels to me that Vermont is showing it's starting to bare its teeth a little bit, and yeah, I really have enjoyed it, and I'll talk about that in a minute. When I actually got out of Stratton-Arlington Road, George wasn't there. He'd just taken somebody to the Wicked Waystation hostel. So I just got my chair out and sat there waiting for him to turn back up, which he did. And in fact, he took me back to the Wicked Waystation because he knew I'd be interested in seeing it. And I asked if he thought I might be able to interview the owner, give her a bit of publicity for the place. But I would only have done it if I liked the place. And it looked terrific. They've got this great games room, sitting room. There's foosball there. There's a pool table there. There are games there, board games there. Great places to sit down and relax. Really terrific place. Nice bunk room, some resupply. Well worth checking out. They had to get you from the trailhead to the way station, and I think you can call them and they should be able to give you a shuttle, but you need to speak to them about that. So I sat down with the Brazilian owner, a lady called Thais, something like that, and we talked about her hostel, her and her husband's hostel, and I'm going to play that after this. That evening, back in his condo, George cooked sausages and pasta, apologising that he wasn't as good a cook as his wife Alice, who was hiking up in New Hampshire. I think George may have forgotten quite how hungry hikers can get. I woofed it all down. It was absolutely delicious. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Didn't leave any of it. Funnily enough, I was on the phone to Dana later, showing her the gorgeous view up the mountains that George had from his balcony and telling her how beautiful Vermont was. Within just a few hours, she'd booked us 4 days to stay somewhere further north in Vermont in mid-December, in the hope that she'd be able to see snow for pretty much the first time in her life. But that was the end of day number 115. So I'm in the Wicked Waystation hostel with Thais, the owner of Wicked Waystation. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you for having me.
So you're on the Stratton-Arlington Road, is that right?
That's correct.
Right. So how long have you been at the hostel?
So this is our 4th summer, so
right.
4 years now.
Right. And what on earth made you want to do this?
This property became available, and I saw it as an opportunity to have a small business. I come from career background that I didn't want to do anymore.
Right.
And
you said you wanted to meet smelly hikers.
Well, then, truthfully, I just wanted to have a community business. Sure. I wanted something that would help my town and help people. And I love nature and mental health. And I thought the trail was the best to click all of those boxes.
It does. Do you hike yourself?
Short day hikes, yeah. But.
So when people come here, what can they expect? What do you have here?
Oh, what do I have? Well, basically we try to think of it as a home.
Right.
Because we once you're in, you have full use of the house with living room, dining room, kitchen, lounge area, backyard, and we really try to make it feel as in not so commercial, more as your home. And
right.
so I think what people appreciate the most is the kitchen. They definitely love cooking.
So you let people cook here?
Yes, we do not provide food, and
right.
so the kitchen is for guests' use.
Okay.
And so they go to the corner store. It's only a quarter mile away. It's a lovely corner store managed by local Vermonters, and they're doing a good job as well, learning what the hikers need.
I'm sure.
Yes, and they've been gearing up the store towards the hiker, which I'm very happy for. And but we have a grill outside.
Do you do resupply as well, though?
I have a little bit for like basics,
right.
if somebody doesn't want to go to the
right.
store. But
right.
I'm happy for the store to handle most of that.
Sure. Yeah,
I have a little bit. There are certain things the store cannot carry. And so we do carry supplemental things, and we carry homemade meals by local people as well, frozen meals. And so if you don't like to cook, even though we have the kitchen for you can just pop the meal in the stove or oven.
Nice.
So, and our goal was to support local people, and that, we have a baker that works with us. We have farm fresh eggs. We have frozen meals, local drivers that work with us. And so that was always the goal, was to be able to boost the local small town economy.
And what about the problem of not having, for people coming off the trail where I came off, which was a couple of miles back, do you pick them up and shuttle them back? I mean, how do people get here?
We have at least one shuttle in the morning and one shuttle in the afternoon every day.
Right.
So that's included in your stay if you pick up those scheduled shuttles.
Sure.
And then we have drivers we collaborate with to make, pickups on demand, but then you would be expected to do a contribution to that shuttle driver for their run. If we're very busy, then we'll add shuttles. But, it can be difficult.
So how many people can you take at any one time?
I can take up to 16 indoor sleepers.
Have you had 16?
I had on the year I opened in 2023. It was the year that we had a lot of rain. Right. I don't know.
I do remember.
If you remember. Yeah. And we opened with a bang for sure.
I'm sure.
And then, here and there maybe, but it's unusual to have that money.
I must say, when George, my friend George, was showing me around the place, he showed me into the games room, which it looks fantastic and so homely. That's a really lovely place. There's a lot of space to spread out, which I like as well. So the name, Wicked Waystation, how on earth did you come up with that?
I don't know if you would have enough minutes for that, but I'll try the short story. And we wanted something that would relate to the local culture over here. Mm-hmm. And in as much as it doesn't make a lot of sense, there used to be a toy store in this house, like a hobby toy, trains and planes and things like that. And they were named Candlelight. And I know it doesn't make any sense, but that's how the wick idea came, because I was trying to get to a name that would relate to candlelight, just in my head. Yes, wick, I know.
Okay, yeah.
So I didn't actually get to wicked first. I know they have completely different roots as to what they mean, but that's the answer to the question. Is I got first to wick, and I thought that was kind of a funny, cool word. And from there, actually became wicked, just playing with words. Mm-hmm. And I liked wicked. I thought it would be a good representation to many generations, and kind of modern and also, traditional at the same time. And then I had a local friend of mine come in when we were renovating the house because it really needed a lot of renovation.
Sure.
And he came in and he said, "Wow, this place is looking wicked good." And that was that. That solidified the name for us. And the Waystation obviously just speaks for what it is, you know.
Perfect.
But yeah,
so how do people get in touch with you? Is it the text you, call
best,
you, or what?
We are still old style. We just don't have right now the budget and capacity to have a booking system per se. So the best is to text us, and also because I feel like I can help.
Do you want to share the number to text?
Oh, sure. 917-999-6793.
That's a New York number.
I know. This is from my prior career time. I used to be in financial services, the whole rat wheel.
Right.
That was 15 plus years ago, but I just wasn't happy.
You're off it.
And
you're off it now.
I'm happy.
Cool.
And yes, hopefully this is... a successful future. I think we're doing a good job. And
it's got a great reputation, I know already.
Thank you.
But thank you for talking to us, and I wish you well in the future.
Oh, thank you, and thank you for stopping and giving us your time.
Cheers. Day 116, which was last Thursday, Kelly Stand Road, or the Stratton Arlington Road, miles 1641.2, to Vermont Route 11/30, which is the road into Manchester Centre, miles 1658.6, a 17.4 mile day, with a full pack, no less. I fixed some scrambled eggs on toast for the morning, and George drove me back to Stratton Arlington Road. On the way back there, we had talked that we would have dinner later that night in Manchester, and I simply didn't connect that conversation with thoughts about my pack. I could have easily asked him to take my pack and bring it to me in Manchester, so it could have been a slap packing day. I could have slapped back the whole 17 miles. As it happens, I didn't. Duh. And it was only after he dropped me off and I realised I could have done that. It niggled me for about a mile and a half, I tell you. Anyway, my full pack felt pretty good, and I got to it. I was climbing Stratton Mountain first thing and took a bunch of photos of the early morning sun kind of forcing its way through the trees and lighting up certain areas spectacularly. The early morning sun never fails to lift your spirits, and there are just certain times of the day when you look at it and it is just so glorious. And I like taking the picture straight into the sun if I can, because it's kind of blurred because it's through the trees, but yeah, it just lights up the forest in a glorious way. But halfway up, there's another gorgeous view, apparently called the Somerset view, of the Somerset Reservoir. I love seeing lakes from up on high. And the climb actually is not at all bad. It's got about 1,700 feet of elevation gain, but it's over 5 miles. And I'm either getting stronger or the climbs are simply easier than I remembered. And I know, once again, New Hampshire, Maine will make me eat my words, I can tell you. But really, these are still 1,700 feet of elevation gain is still a significant climb. At the top, I passed the iconic White Warden's hut before I climbed up the somewhat rickety fire tower for a sensational view all around. And it was quite a calm day as well, so you'd expect there to be a wind howling at the top, but there really wasn't, and it was beautiful. At the bottom, there were several other hikers hanging around. Some had climbed it, some hadn't, some were about to climb it. We all sat around and chatted. One guy said, and he'd been on the trail, he was doing a thru-hike, he goes so fast, he hardly has time to sit and chat with people. And I think that's one thing he should do, and we should all do, is take the time just to sit and chat, because everybody is going to be your friend on trail. They're going to be happy to talk to you when you're there. I knew that the hard work of the day had been done, as the path down wasn't going to give us any more big ups and big downs. However, I was a little disappointed that the trail has been rerouted away from Stratton Pond. There's a Blue Blades trail to take you to Stratton Pond, but I didn't take it, as I had committed to meet George to take me into Manchester at around 5:45 p.m. Given myself target deadlines has necessitated missing one or two of these sites, though I don't regret it generally, having seen most of the sites in previous hikes. I think I would have liked to have seen Stratton Pond that day, however, because I remember it as being a beautiful place. And when I went last time, it was a silky, warm day, and the the lake itself, or the pond itself, was completely flat. Shame they've rerouted away, and I don't even know why they've done that. The rest of the day continued its gentle path down, and having given George, as I say, an ETA range between 5:45 and 6 p.m, I split the difference and came out of the woods at 5:52 precisely. Not bad, eh? I'd already read that there was free camping available in Manchester Centre behind the American Legion building, or the Veterans and Foreign Wars. When we got there, there were already 6 tents set up. George had offered a lift to a sober lady hiker, and she was heading for the same place. At this campsite, there was only one other Nobo hiker, a guy called Woodstock, who had turned over his hike to helping other hikers using his van. He was such a cool dude, he really was. In fact, he gave me his number to call him when I start going south, when I get to Harper's Ferry. He lives somewhere near, I think it's the south end of the Shenandoahs. George and I went to a local brewery, which served terrific pizzas, before taking me back and depositing me at my campsite. It had been another really, really good day. Day 117, which was last Friday. Vermont Route 11/30, mile 1658.6 to USFS 10, mile 1676.3, a 17.7 mile slack pack. I found the bagel place that we'd been told about the night before. It was only about, 150 feet away from where I was camping, and I knew it opened at 6 o'clock in the morning, so I got there early as I could, about 6:10, something like that. And I sat down and had a nice big breakfast bagel, and I took a sandwich with me. I mean, it wasn't cheap. I think it was $30 for a coffee and 2 sandwiches, but they were absolutely magnificent. I was staying and being slack-packed by my friend Betty, who some of you have met and probably remember as Dumbbell Betty, who carried a 5-pound dumbbell in her bag when we went on a hike once. And I'd met Bruce before as well at the Woods Hole weekend. Lovely couple, really enjoy their company. And Bruce came there to pick me up in Manchester, and he took me back to the trailhead where I'd left off the previous evening. So with my nice lighter pack, I started the hike up Mount Bromley, and there was a turn off to a shelter, and a woman came past me and said hi and took the path to the shelter. I said, "Do you intend to go to the shelter?" Because I was in front of the sign really, and because the AT goes up that way. And she turned and looked at me and she said, "Are you Mighty Blue?" Yeah, so I was, and so she was pleased to see me, and we took a photo together. And she was hiking with her Canadian friend, and I saw her a few more times that day on the way up Mount Bromley. It's funny actually, when you start climbing in the woods, it's entirely different to when you start climbing on pasture. It is to me anyway. And Mount Bromley, you're in the woods for quite a while, but for the last, half a mile, maybe 0.4 of a mile, you actually go out onto what looks like pasture, but is actually a ski run, and you start walking up that. I find that so much more difficult than walking up a similar angle in the forest. I don't know why it is. I just do. It's kind of odd, really. So I got to the top of Mount Bromley, and I don't recall there being a fire tower there last time. Perhaps there was, but someone told me this was a new fire tower anyway. It was a lovely solid structure, and you could go up it, which I did, of course. And there's magnificent view again all the way around with 2 Adirondack chairs at the top. So I sat on one of those for a little while and did a bit of filming. It was kind of nice. I headed back down again, and Payday was there once more, and we sat and talked, and I had my sandwich, which gave me a bit of strength for the next hill I was going to climb. And then I started heading down. I noticed that Vermont features several things. The first is mud, which is very black and cloying. We tend to have to skirt around the muddy sections to the slightly drier parts at the side of the trail. And I must say, even though they've had a lot of rain, the mud is nowhere near as bad as it was when I came through in 2019, there was almost no way to get around it. You were taking a boot full of mud virtually every other step. But now you can get round the sides of it. Also, the tangled routes are definitely getting worse. And as I say, it feels like Vermont is gearing us up for the rest of the trip, because one of my abiding memories from Maine is the unrelenting nature and the shape of the tree root systems. They're just fantastical systems. They're all over the place, going at all sorts of different angles. And lastly, there are hundreds of puncheons. And those of you who, maybe you all know what a puncheon is, but they're kind of makeshift walkways over wet ground. And they are in various states of repair and disrepair, some of which seem to squelch as you go over them. Some feel like they're cracking as you go over them. Generally, in Vermont, they've been very, very good. I don't know whether they've been renewed recently, but they're in great condition, and I really appreciate them. They can get slick and deadly if it rains too much, but it hasn't rained while I've been in Vermont. It rained the previous couple of days ago, but generally it hasn't rained that much while I've been in Vermont, and I've really found them incredibly helpful. They haven't been wet, and I haven't slipped on any. And once again, I didn't fall today, which is a good thing. But despite having seen so many people recently, for some reason I passed very few hikers on this day, and very few hikers passed me. The only ones actually that I did see were coming towards me going southbound. So I obviously got up Bromley, and then I got up another one, which I can't remember, Stiles, is it? Stiles Peak or something like that. So I thought there was a climb to the day. But what I hadn't counted for, and I'd totally forgotten about, was Baker Peak. I had to negotiate that. It's a short climb, but man, it is a hairy climb. Sharp, slanted rock, which I would have hated to have done on a wet day. But it was so slanted that even on a dry day, I was concerned about it. So I was bending down a lot to hold on to the rocks as I went up. But it's very, very steep, and it takes you up the top after, I think it's about 200 yards, 250 yards long. It's quite a way, I tell you, but it was something I certainly wasn't expecting. And then just before USFS 10, there's a shelter that I recall very well from 2014. There was a young guy called Chip who was constantly smiling, really nice guy, and he carried his guitar with him, slung over his shoulder. And I said to him, Chip, and I'd be hiking around him for some time, I've never seen you play that. And he kind of looked at me a bit quizzically, and he said, yeah, I actually haven't played it at all. So he'd done nearly 1,700 miles without playing. And as I got in my tent that night, I remember I suddenly heard him strumming away. It's pretty cool. But yeah, it was a lovely shelter there, right by the Russian River, which would have maybe get up and need to pee all night long. But yeah, it was a beautiful spot. And it was about a mile from the end when I heard a voice. It was Betty. She had walked out into the woods to meet me, and we walked out together. And Bruce and Betty had already made a commitment for that evening at a friend's 70th birthday party. And so they'd actually said that they were picking me up, and the friend invited me along as well. So I went there. We had a really, really nice meal, and we didn't stay that long, but as I say, long enough to consume a really lovely dinner. And we headed back to Bruce and Betty's home, which is quite remote and beautiful. They let me set up my tent in the basement to dry it off, because I had to pack it up very wet that morning, and they showed me to my room. It was going to be another long day tomorrow, so I was in bed by 9 o'clock. Day 118, which was Saturday, USFS 10, mile 1676.3 to Lottery Road, mile 1692.9, a 16.6 mile slack pack. Bruce dropped me back at USFS 10 after a 1 hour drive. They're so kind to be doing this. I'm so grateful to them for helping me out like this. I've really enjoyed staying here, and I've really enjoyed being slack packed. The first climb up was going to be quite gentle, yet the beginning seemed almost dead flat for the first half a mile. I do love an easy start, I tell you. Then we crossed a river on a small bridge and the climb began, but after only about 100 feet of elevation gain, we had another flat path. This was such a fantastic way to start the day, especially given that we were expecting over 4,000 feet of elevation gain on the entire day. This pattern continued for another half an hour with occasional gentle climbs followed by nice flat parts, often across puncheons. Then I came to a little rock pond, a beautiful lake which we skirted on the eastern side. Just before the pond, I ran into Forge, who had camped there overnight and still hadn't left camp. I actually heard later that there were a whole bunch of people at that camp and that they took the opportunity to swim in the pond the previous evening, and that it was absolutely beautiful, like a cool bath. Very nice. I actually sat for my first break of the day on one of the puncheons with a clear view across the lake, and I chomped on a banana as I heard my first loon of this hike. It was pretty darn magical. If you haven't heard a loon, you want to perhaps even Google the sound. It's quite haunting. There's obviously been some money put into the trail around here, because I've come to a couple of bridges under construction. And what you do, you follow they say follow this, the flags. They've tied these different flags to the trees and create a temporary trail through the trees to show you the right place to cross the stream. You really should try to follow what they suggest, because each time so far it's been the correct way to do it. And I'm sure some people are stupid enough to climb across the bridge, which isn't ready because it's still under construction, but follow those flags because it makes a lot of sense. I was enjoying this hike. There were pine needles on the path, which is always lovely to walk on anyway. And I knew that there were some rock gardens coming up, kind of strange formations of rocks. And I kind of didn't remember the first two, but I certainly remembered the third rock garden. And from my memory, back in 2019, it was full of cairns, basically piles of stones balanced on top of each other. But this time there were only about 3 standing cairns. There were lots of rocks, and it was still kind of cool to see it. So I must apologise to anybody who did this. People have spent hours trying to put these things together, and I put a rock on, and I think I slipped or something. Anyway, I knocked the bloody cairn over, didn't I? What an idiot. Oh dear. I don't know why I confessed that. I shouldn't have done, really. Then there was an extensive climb down, made considerably worse. Well, let me tell you what I did. I was going down, and it was descending quite rapidly, and I was making pretty good progress and thoroughly enjoying myself on the way down. And I was going on and on and on, and I suddenly realised that wasn't a white blaze in front of me. That was a blue blaze, and I couldn't understand why there was a blue blaze in front of me. So I did what I would always do. I checked far out, and yep, I was actually on a blue blaze down to the car park and picnic area. Not terribly helpful. And so the worst part of it, of course, was it had been going down quite sharply. Oh, yeah. I don't know. I retraced my very uphill path, found the trail again and resumed, but not before I'd had a few words to say about the idiot who's gone the wrong way, me. And, well, it happens sometimes, but yeah, I wasted effectively nearly 3/4 of a mile that way and a lot of sweat. Soon after, I came upon Nuke, who I hadn't seen for over a week. We chatted a while and then moved on to the Minerva Hinchy shelter and chatted some more over some food before I moved on. I think we're going to be at a slightly different pace, and Nuke wants to get there, I think, about 10 days before my current plan, which is still planned for the 30th of September, although I'm ahead of that schedule right now, actually. Then I saw something which I remember thinking seemed so anachronistic when I saw it back in 2014, I think, first. There's an airport landing strip, and you stand on this rock overlooking this airport landing strip. It's a pretty cool spot, and yeah, I kind of like seeing it, actually. Then we began the long downhill into Clarendon Gorge. It was quite dangerous in parts, though fortunately most of the rocks were dry. As I got closer to the bottom, I could hear lots of voices and screams and shouts, and getting to the bottom and near the bridge, I looked down into the water, and there must have been 60 youngsters and families playing in the water. What a great spot that must be for spending the afternoon. Now, sad bit of news here. I later learned a young lady named Rue, who I'd met before, fell somewhere near here, and she cut her face and she broke her wrist, probably ending her hike. I felt so sorry to lose her energy from the trail because she was always friendly and positive. I just hope she's able to get back on, because doing nearly 1,700 miles and having your hike ending that way, a way in which you never plan, is likely the thing that most of us fear. We all know we're one step away from potentially disaster. And I don't know whether you listen to this, Rue, but you're going to be missed on trail. And I'm sure if it's any consolation, people will be taking that little bit more care when they go down some of these rots, because we know every step could be the last step we're going to have on trail. Climbing up out of the gorge was a series of narrowing, steep rocks that I remember thinking would be really dangerous going southbound. But I eventually reached the top, and then another short climb up, and I got to Lottery Road, where Betty had just pulled up. I've become pretty good at estimating my arrival time. So I texted her about 3 hours before that I'd be there at around 5:45 p.m. It was 5:46 p.m. when I got there. I got one more interview to share with you, which I think is pretty terrific, even if I say so myself. A few days ago, a father and son, Polechar and Forrest, had summited Katahdin. Forrest is only 10 years old, and Polechar turned 50 on trail. I'd caught some of the earlier YouTube videos they made, because they left earlier than me, and was so impressed with young Forrest that when Betty said that they lived in the village, and Betty knew them, I was excited to have the chance to interview them. I actually did the interview on Sunday morning, but I wanted to bring it to you straight away, and that's going to play after this. Remember, when they're talking to me, they'd summited 3 or 4 days before, which is pretty cool, I think. Betty drove me back, and her husband Bruce joined us for dinner at a terrific little Cajun place. It was my treat for all their kindnesses towards me, and we had a lovely meal. And I had a little margarita, which was nice, and that was the end of Saturday. So I've got the unique opportunity today to meet some people who've actually completed a thru hike already this year, and they were all over YouTube. This is Polechar and Forrest. Hey guys, thanks for talking to me.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
And how long ago did you finish?
3 days ago?
Yeah, about 3 days ago.
Only 3 days?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh my gosh.
I know. It's
So-
still surreal.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. And
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you in a minute how it all started, but how did it all end? What was your Katahdin day like, Forrest?
So it was really, really windy, but it was a super clear day. It was super beautiful.
You got some great pictures of the top of Katahdin, haven't you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And why was this? Why did you want to do this, especially just the two of you?
Well, I'll give a quick story. I did the trail in 2013. I went southbound.
Oh, right.
And he was at soccer practice one day in Killington, and I took a walk on the trail to wait for him.
Yeah.
And when I got back to pick him up, I asked him, I says, hey, what do you think about doing the trail, the whole trail? And he immediately says, yes.
Why did you say
wanna
that?
do that. I asked him that many times throughout the trip when it was a little miserable.
Yeah.
Why did you say yes?
Yeah, what were you feeling? When your dad said that, you thought this would be a good idea, or this is crazy, or what?
Like I did weekend hikes before this, and I thought it'd be fun and it'd be a good experience, and I could probably do YouTube on it.
Is that why you wanted to do YouTube on it straight away?
Well, kind of.
Yeah?
He was excited about YouTube.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, you started in Georgia, I presume.
Yes.
Those early days, what do they feel like to you, Forrest? Because those mountains are not easy, are they, straight away?
They really weren't, and they were tough, and it was cold. We actually much prefer the cold than the heat.
Right.
But yeah, they were tough.
And what about you? Did you find it easy enough?
Well, I
I know you'd already done it. But
I think the struggle starting was our heavy pack weight because of the winter gear. Because we
Right.
started in mid-February, so therefore we had all our winter gear, right down to the heavier sleeping bag, all kinds of winter clothes.
Sure.
And it wasn't until after a couple of months that we were able to start to lighten up.
But I presume you were carrying more of Forrest stuff than he was.
So I tell you what, he actually carried all of his own stuff. I just carried his food.
Really? So
Yes.
what did you weigh your pack when you started?
When I started, it was 13.5 pounds.
Exactly right.
Without food and water.
Without.
That's pretty.
Correct.
That's pretty good. And how much do you weigh, if you don't mind me asking?
I weigh 66 pounds.
So yeah.
I weighed 260 when I started. I've lost 50 pounds already. All right, but
Wow.
This is a bit of a diversion, by the way.
That's okay.
How much weight did you guys lose? Did you lose much?
I gained weight.
No, he actually gained weight.
Thankfully.
Yeah, just I think he's growing, and
Yeah.
he ate a lot. And I would say about a month in, we were eating double of what we started with.
Oh, really?
So I actually didn't lose weight. I don't have much weight to lose to
Right.
begin with. So I just tried to, I made a conscious effort to eat as much as I could
Sure.
all the time, just so I didn't lose weight.
And you still got the hiker hunger?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Forrest, tell us about one or two of the friends. I know when I saw a couple of your videos early on, because you went quite early, didn't you? You started quite early?
We started February 13th.
Wow. I'm going to ask about that in a minute as well. But tell us about a couple of the people you met that made a real impression on you.
Sparkplug, Denver,
And why did they make an impression on you?
They were just super nice, and we were kind of going the same pace, so we hung out with them a lot, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
And what sort of mileage were you guys doing? I mean, I'm sure you were constantly aware of your son, obviously. on the
Yeah.
trip.
At the beginning, we were doing 8 to 12 miles.
Perfect.
And
Perfect.
then we ramped it up and started doing 15 to 20s.
Did you? What was your longest day?
25.
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 10.
And you turned 10 on trail, didn't you?
No, but my dad turned 50.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So his birthday is in December. So,
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So how did you celebrate your 50th birthday? Where were you?
It was absolutely fantastic. We climbed out of the NOC, Natalia Outdoor Center.
That is the worst.
Early on.
Because I've done it before.
Yes.
I was shocked at how long that went on.
It was 6 miles of
Upwards.
up.
Yeah.
Yes, and it was a very long day.
And it was hot.
And it was hot.
God help.
Believe it or not, that early in the year.
Yeah.
There's no shade in the woods at that time of year because there's no trees.
Of course.
So leaves on the trees. So therefore, it was hard to get shade. So even when it wasn't that hot, it was still hot in the sun. We weren't really expecting that, but we got through it.
Not much of a celebration then, actually.
Oh, so
that wasn't.
actually it was. It was
right.
actually wonderful. We had a couple of candles, and he put them in a cosmic brownie.
All right.
And
All right.
yeah, and so we celebrated my birthday in our tent. Had some candles, and he sang "Happy Birthday" to me, and it was actually very precious.
It's
It
a very
was
special
wonderful.
thing, isn't it?
It was, yeah. I got it on video, and it's
And why'd you
really
why'd you
nice.
go as early as that? Is it because you wanted the colder weather?
yeah.
We actually wanted to finish before school started next year.
Oh,
So I
cool.
had
Yes.
time to relax before school started, and it doesn't interrupt with it doesn't interrupt with 2 school years.
Right.
So how do you do that then? You're allowed to take time off school? Is that what did the teachers say?
So we applied for it. So what we had to do was basically do a minimum course of study, send that to the state, and that just outlined on everything that he would learn on the trail.
Right.
And also a letter of intent, which means like what our plan was to pull him out of school to do the hike. Submitted those 2 forms to the state and got an approval, and they literally said, "This is wonderful. Good luck."
I agree.
Yeah.
So what do you think he learned? And I'm going to ask Forrest what he learned.
Social skills.
I'm sure.
I mean,
I can see that always
yeah.
in the videos as well.
and a lot of math too, because he's got all the mileage figured out and how long it's going to take to get to where we're going, and right down to the 10th of a mile.
Yeah.
So I mean, and a lot of history on the trail.
Of course.
You know, the Civil War and everything. I think he come out of it learning quite a bit.
And what do you think you learned?
I definitely learned math. Social skills, like my dad said, and
But
just survival skills.
But when you start,
yeah.
and there are all these older people there, everyone's older than you on trail, obviously.
Yeah.
Were you intimidated by that, or were you get straight into that?
I was not intimidated at all. I just went straight into it, made friends with a lot of people.
And everybody's open to friendship, don't you think so? Of any age, you could talk to an old guy like me, or a kid out of college, or somebody in their 50s, and they're all the same, aren't they?
Yeah, pretty much.
Everybody has the same goal out there.
Absolutely.
You know, so
Yeah.
everybody was very, very great to him. It was so nice to see everybody.
I'm sure, you know
Yeah.
what, I'm not in the least bit surprised.
I know.
I'm pleased, but I'm not
Right.
in the least bit surprised because that's how this trail is.
It is.
Do you know what's
Everybody's so
going to
kind.
happen now, Forrest? Just so you know, and I'll tell you something I tell my listeners all the time in a minute. You're going to think about this every day for the rest of your life. So bad luck. You've got a long time to think about this. One thing I give my listeners will roll their eyes because I say this a lot. One thing I need to tell you now: you're 3 days after the hike. You probably know this from your first time, Polechar, that you've got about a 2 or 3 week window to tell all your friends and your family all your stories. After that, they want you to shut up talking about the Appalachian Trail. I'm right, I know.
Yes.
Because they don't identify it. They don't know what you've just done.
Right.
You know what you've just done. You and your dad are going to talk about it forever. So it's a wonderful thing. Have you got other brothers and sisters?
No.
Oh, right. Okay, fine. And what do the rest of your family think about you going?
Well, I tell you, they were not surprised. That's what I will say. They were not surprised at all that we had this as a plan.
And I guess they weren't surprised that young Forrest made it as well.
You know what? There were people that questioned whether, a 10-year-old would have the mentality to go that far, to stick with it. But there were also a lot of people that said if there was any kid that could do it, it would be him.
Good.
I heard that quite a few times.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
And you know what? You know your son better than anybody knows your son. So I'm sure that once you decided he could, you wouldn't have asked him if you didn't think he could do it.
Right.
What if he didn't like it and he wanted to go home?
It was all up to him whether we went home or not.
And would you have gone home as well?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, I've already done it. So
exactly.
This trip was for him and for him only.
Yeah. Well, you're a lucky guy, I tell you, because I know I didn't do my first hike till I was 61. And I kind of wish I'd done it earlier in some ways, but doing it at your age, you've got a whole life ahead of you to do this. So, best of luck. You're going to go for the Triple Crown before you're 20?
I don't think so.
Well, look, I really appreciate you talking to me, and congratulations. It's a fantastic achievement, both of you.
Thank you.
It's not easy. And thanks so much for talking to us.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Cheers. How cool is that kid, eh? And how brave is his dad for taking him on such a great adventure? That boy will think about this for the rest of his life, remembering that bonding time with his father, as well as meeting tons of new friends and understanding the importance of social interaction. While you can learn a heck of a lot of good stuff at school, the woods and mountains can teach you things that you're never going to learn in school. My hat's off to Polechar and his decision to take his son with him. I truly can't think of anything I would have preferred to do in my life than summit Mount Katahdin with one of my boys. I'll see you next time.